Hello, you've just finished watching the ABCs of behavior. Right now we are going to continue with those concepts and talk about the key points from the video, provide some examples, and discuss two common recording errors when collecting ABC data. Here is an example of a simple ABC chart. Now it consists of 4 columns, and what you'll see is on the far left is a column where you record the date and time of the behavior, and followed by columns of the antecedent, behavior, and consequence. What you would do is you would provide a short description of the antecedent, behavior, and consequence in each applicable column. Another method of collecting ABC data is to use checklists. Now here are some examples. I know it's hard to see exactly what's written on these examples. If you do a Google search, I'm sure you're going to come up with many different variety of examples that you can use as a guide to create your own, which I would encourage you to do. This just gives you an idea of some of the variables and how these checklists are populated so that they would really make the data collection process a little easier. Okay, here is an example of a sequence of ABC data. In this example, a child asks a parent for a sugary snack and is told no, which results in yelling, screaming, rolling on the floor. And in consequence to that behavior, the outcome of the behavior, parent offers the child a healthy snack, parent attempts to ignore the behavior. Eventually a reduced portion of the requested snack is provided, which stops the behavior. So when you look at this example, it gives you a pretty good indication of what's going on, what's driving the behavior, and perhaps some interventions that need to be implemented in order to amend the behavior. Okay. It now would be a good idea if you have a piece of scrap paper handy, or maybe do this mentally. We're going to read over the practice scenario and give you some time in order to kind of formulate the sequence of ABC data on your own. Okay, so the scenario reads: on Monday at 9:15 a.m., Alexandra is sitting at her desk listening to music with her headphones on. The teacher approaches Alexandria and instructs her to put away headphones and music and to begin her assignment. Alexandria proceeds to scream and throw a book on the floor. Fearing Alexandria may become more aggressive, Alexandria's one-to-one aide moves away from her, and the teacher allows Alexandria to go back of the classroom and sit on a beanbag until she is calm. So take a moment and go ahead and put this in ABC sequence. Okay, hopefully you had enough time to ponder that, or at least get started with it. Here would be one way of writing out that antecedent behavior consequence data. On Monday at 9:15, as you can see, that's indicated in the date and time column and antecedent column. Instruction to put away music and begin assignment, which resulted in screaming and throwing a book. And the consequence is indicated as staff move away. Alexandria is allowed to sit on a beanbag in the back of the classroom, and the task is suspended. So now we're ready to move into two common ABC assessment recording errors that are that occur pretty regular in my time and what I see. Okay, the first one is there does not appear to be a clear detectable antecedent, so the recorder does not indicate an antecedent or indicates the behavior came out of nowhere. No information is provided about the context of the behavior. The second common error really relates to recording consequence data. And that is, when indicating the consequence of behavior, the recorder just indicates the discipline procedure that was used. No information is recorded about how others in the environments responded to the behavior or the outcome the behavior produced. So let's go over an example. Okay, we'll say here a student, is indicated on your left, is demonstrating some challenging behaviors such as telling jokes, mocking the teacher, maybe engaging in sidebar conversations with his neighbor, and teasing other students. And somewhere down the line is sent to the principal's office. Now, an ineffective way, or sometimes what I've seen in the past when collecting behavior data, or working with people collecting behavior data, is a write-up of such a scenario, something like this, where the antecedent is just indicated as the student started acting up. The behavior descriptors are fine, but then the consequence is sent to the office, and a lot of stuff is missed in that process that we don't know about. So this is pretty superficial, hard to tell what the antecedents were, what the context really that contributed to the behavior, and also hard to really tell what was happening after the behavior, and if any changes, to those consequence outcomes could be implemented based on this information that we have. So here would be a more effective way of recording that same data from the scenario. And that this is, you indicate the time during math instruction the students were completing independent seat work. The behavior remains the same, but also the consequences are done up, more detailed about what was happening after the behavior. And as you see, multiple verbal prompts were provided by the teacher to stop the behavior. Other students were loudly complaining. Students loudly rebuked the student. Other students were laughing. Help with schoolwork was offered. Seat was moved and sent to the office. So there's a lot more information that we can begin to ascertain possibly what is contributing to the behavior starting and what is maintaining the behavior here. From this information, probably more data points would need to be collected. However, you can even start to formulate hypotheses based on what you have right now, and start maybe thinking about some interventions that would help to offset the behavior, to avoid the behavior. For instance, at the beginning, during the antecedent, could math instruction be changed to earlier in the day? Is it a late in the day problem? Could you reduce the amount of independent seat work, maybe peer cooperative learning? Working with the student one-to-one during this time might be ways to avoid the behavior from occurring in the future. Just some examples. Okay, so as we finally move into some considerations, one thing is, and this is just kind of a summary and kind of highlighting some key points for the video you just watched, is that when recording antecedent data, if you're having a hard time coming up and finding things that are directly triggering the behavior, think about the date and time, think about the location, think about the activity, think about task difficulties, think about environmental conditions, and think about who the student was interacting with and not acting with, and include some of that information on your data charts. Now, you might not necessarily need to include all that information, but if you're having a hard time to seeing a trigger, identifying a trigger, you'd want to include as many of those variables as possible. And finally, when you are recording the consequence data, remember that it's just not discipline data. It's just not what happened, the discipline that was applied. You're really thinking about how the students and staff responded to the behavior. You're thinking about the changes in the environment as a result of the behavior. What happened? One example might be classmates were removed from class, and just generally what type of outcome the behavior produced in general. So keep those in mind when collecting ABC data.